and it's
Steve, Paul Moreau's here. Can you hear me? I got cut off. Can you start again? Because I'm really interested in Fiji. We had big projects with Shriners down there, going there every year, and we saw tons of kids that we would bring up here for surgery. But I got cut off when you just started talking. So what was your project again? Sorry.
Oh, okay. Well, we've been doing projects down there for the past 17 years and focusing on a special needs education school in Nandi, and at the same time also doing literacy projects in the rural schools out in the bush where they're out of sight, out of mind. And that's been our primary focus, has been literacy, early education, and then medical, anything to do with medicine or getting resources to the villages. So Randy Hart had asked me to approach, one of the clubs about doing a project. And right now the Rotary Club of Suva East is putting together a needs assessment report for us, and they will be sending it to us very shortly. And then from there we can move forward.
Well, really, or Steve, we've been going to Shriners to Fiji for like over 30 years, and now because of COVID, we're. Can you hear me? I've lost your picture.
Yes, sir. Can hear you.
So, and because of COVID, we've not been able to go, and we've got piles of patients down there, even patients who are in mid-treatment. And so we were working for the longest time with Hilton School in Suva. It's a special needs.
Yep. Yeah. I know the school.
We were working with Frank Hilton for a long, long time, and he passed on. But and then Sereni, who runs it there, she got pissed off with the Ministry of Health there and the trouble that they would give them to get patients to come up here because of visas and things. So we're always looking for partners. Shriners always look for partners in Fiji. So just keep that in mind, because we're very interested in restarting there. We're actually just chatting right now with the Assistant Minister of Health right now to try and get us back down there, except they're having trouble, of course, with the COVID.
Yeah, as of yesterday, they're shooting for November to reopen the country for air travel. Mm-hmm. So hopefully that will happen. And maybe we can get you hooked up with the Suva East Rotary Club, because they do a lot of projects, and they have a past district governor that's in their club, and I know he's he makes a lot of things happen down there.
We go to Suva, we go to the War Memorial Hospital, we go to Lautoka.
Right on.
We used to go to the Nandi Hospital. We go to Lambasa as well, to the hospital there. So Fiji is a big target of ours. It's probably one of our biggest contributors to Pacific Islanders coming here, because they've got almost 1 million people, and so they have lots of medical problems from the orthopedic point of view. So I'll shut up now, but we're really interested in hearing about Fiji.
Awesome.
I love going to Fiji. Yeah.
Me too. Well, that's all I have to have right now, folks. As soon as I get, more of an update from Suva, then I'll share the information with you, and we'll get rocking on something.
Hey, Steve, it's Randy. Just got one question for you, pal.
Yes, sir.
Initially we were talking about, a project down there, a medical project, and partnering with the Hilo Medical Center and their interns and stuff. Is that kind of still on the table?
Yes, that is on the table. Thank you for reminding me. I had a total memory lapse of that. And that's an update I need to give you guys. The Hilo Medical Foundation, about 4 weeks ago, they've approved a joint partnership with us, and they're going to provide 5 doctors and pay for their air travel and, all the costs for them to go down with us. So we have, something's happening here, and I just want to make it bigger. And, Shriners is something maybe we can hook up with doing something at the Hilton School? Because those two schools, like in Nandi and in Suva, they're basically it for taking care of the children that have special needs, and that's like one of the things that's not a priority in the country because of the economic resources that are available. They have a lot of pressing issues because it's a young country that's still developing, and that's it. Randy, you want to say anything? Oh, Mark, you got your hand up.
Yeah, Steve, put your contact information in the chat, will you?
Put it in where?
Put it in the chat.
Oh, okay.
Email and phone.
Okay.
Yeah, thanks.
I can do that. Yeah, you're welcome. All right, I'll turn the meeting back over to you, sir.
All right, Steve, thank you so much.
Thank you very much, everybody.
Yep, and also just in the future, just let us know how, as a team, we could help support. Obviously, this committee is, we're here to support the district governor. We're here to support, other Rotarians throughout the entire district. So just any way we could help, just let us know. If you need a contact.
I really appreciate that, and it's all about expanding our horizons, right?
Exactly. Thank you.
Cool.
Thank you again.
Thank you.
Well, I'm still desperately texting back and forth with my friend Junior. I'm going to just pull up some slides. I don't have his official slides for today, but I could give some background myself and kind of segue in, and I'll just let him take over. I think Sarah is also on the road. I think she said she's driving to from one point to another point in Wisconsin today. So I definitely appreciate them joining on. Let me just pull up share screen here, and this is a presentation that Junior gave in 2019 to the emergency physicians and the staff at the ground rounds at Queens Medical Center. And we actually hosted him. It was actually, I won't say I hosted him specifically. He did stay at my place and et cetera, but he actually came. He was very fortunate to come to the States through a U.S. State Department project or program that actually, allowed, developing nations to come to the U.S. to see how we set up our disaster plans and our response. And so he went from various states, starting in DC, I believe across to Chicago, to Iowa, of all places, through one of the Dakotas, I forgot which one, and then ended up in Seattle, and then just saw different aspects of how each state or city kind of respond, and then ended up in Hawaii. And obviously, each area has a unique set of disasters, I believe, that, whether man-made or natural. And obviously, he was the representative from his nation to show up, and it was actually kind of ironic because he said that they paired him up with a guy from Guinea, which is a country in Africa, right? So Papua New Guinea, and then there's Guinea. So he said that was kind of ironic, and I don't know what kind of person made the arrangements to link people up. It was kind of like when I was in the Army, they linked me up with the guy from Indonesia because we're both from tropical environments. When we were doing some operations in Europe, they thought we'd rack up the highest heating bill together, so they moved us together. So something like that, but. These international experiences I've learned, whether in the military or in the civilian world, are just so unique. And I think we're just lucky to have him here. And during his stay here, he actually presented at my Rotary Club. I was looking for those slides. I couldn't find them. So I just have these slides. I'm actually looking for a picture of him real quick. So I could actually, so I can show you guys kind of what he looks like. But my Google searches aren't. When you're trying to look for a Google image, it just doesn't work that way. So I'll just kind of drive on here. So, I think, this is kind of what he wanted to talk about in general. This is what I wanted him to share kind of, it wasn't anything specific about the project that we're working on specifically, but it's just kind of the challenges that are, that face. And I know that this might be geared more towards people who are more familiar with emergency medicine, so I'm not sure how many of these medical terms he uses, but the irony of it is that emergency medicine in Hawaii actually has its roots stemmed from Carolyn Anarud. And I'm not sure if that name rings a bell to any of you, but she's a retired emergency physician who actually lives here in I believe in Kailua. And she was actually with the World Health Organization in the 1970s and 80s and spent a lot of time in Australia. But then from Australia, she actually spent a lot of time in Papua New Guinea. And it's interesting because when I went to visit the now the father of emergency medicine and he's like the head emergency physician, Sam Yoko, I can't pronounce his name fully, sorry. But he actually, when I told him I was from Hawaii, he said that his mother is in Hawaii, and this is Carolyn Anarud, which is so interesting. And the talk that Sam always tells all of his emergency physicians in graduation is this. And this quote applies to so many people, I believe, in all walks of life. But I think in a nation that's developing, trying to advance at the ceiling of cutting edge medicine, when some of the basic needs aren't even met yet. This is definitely a good quote. So, without reading it out loud, I'll just, you guys kind of get the gist of it. And just, Papua New Guinea is located just north of Australia. It's kind of divided in half. The left half is actually West Papua, which is an island of Indonesia, half. And then the other half it used to be a colony of Australia. And I believe in the late 70s, they actually gained independence. And maybe it was the early 80s. And you can see kind of proximity. It is kind of isolated. There are small island nations, and there's 3 different subsets of populations in there. There's the Highlanders, there are the coastal people, and then there are the islanders. So there's different kinds of, and each set looks very different. Like the islanders definitely appear more, Polynesian looking, a little bit lighter skin, kind of different build. And then the ranges then from the Highlanders are definitely darker and definitely bigger build, depending on, I guess, their diets and such. But it's definitely a place that has a lot of different a lot of different diversity. And without going too in depth, there's definitely 800 different tribes, 800 different distinct languages. And since then, I would say over the last decade, probably that number has unfortunately gone down to the high 600s, probably, unfortunately. But the population still grows, and obviously the needs of the people still grow as well. So aside from aside for the cultural aspects, definitely a large range. You can see here on the right that's a wreckage of a bomber on the right. So Papua New Guinea got put on the map. Probably Americans probably were more familiar with it as a result of World War II. There was a lot of I believe there's a base there. There was a lot of kind of exploration going on around that time, and Mount Hagen actually was, I guess, quote, discovered by the Western world in the 30s. And I don't know if he has the picture of it, but there is this really world famous picture called First Contact, which is the first time white settlers had come into Papua New Guinea. And if you look at that picture, on one side of it, there's a like a tribal chief looking man, and he's standing really close next to the 2 brothers, the Liahi brothers. And that's actually Junior's grandfather. And Junior's grandfather, the story goes, asked him, he was very good with language, and asked him in English, what should my son be when he when he grows up? And he said to send him to Australia to become a physician. So Junior's dad left Papua New Guinea to go to Australia to become a doctor, and came back and became the Western Highlands region's first physician. And the next step of that was for Junior to go to medical school, and they had since established a medical school in Papua New Guinea, and he's now the first emergency physician in the Western Highlands region. So just a very good lineage. Obviously, such a short history for the nation, but just really cool to see. And they don't graduate very many doctors, but I think I misspoke in my last meeting, and I guess the quote that I had didn't get the last part. So outside of Africa, Papua New Guinea has the lowest physician per capita in the world. So I forgot that caveat. So I apologize for that factoid. But But yeah, it's still a pretty low, I would say, in terms of the top. They're one of the worst in terms of 20 in the world for the ratios of access to physicians. And so with that said, it's definitely high needs in terms of the people, but how can we support them, without this? So since then, they've actually created a second medical school just recently at Divine Word University. It's a Catholic school, and they're pumping out about 20 physicians as well. So they're trying to meet those needs. And in addition to that, I'm not sure if it's on the next slide here, but not yet. But they also have been creating these like physician assistant type roles, which are called health extension officers, and trying to get them up to speed to kind of fill that gap as well. Something we're seeing also in the United States with nurse practitioners and physician assistants kind of filling all these gaps. So the next, obviously they're, just like similar to the United States, but a little bit different. They actually go to medical school starting as an undergraduate. So, instead of us having a biology degree or a computer science degree and then applying to medical school after that, they start going to medical school to start with. Then their residency is after their postgraduate training, which includes their residency serving as a registrar, which is when I met a junior. He was like the only, I'm complaining about having to do some shifts in the emergency department here, but this guy was the one-man show 24/7, 365 for an entire, region of a couple 100,000 people. So just kind of when I first met the guy in 2013, I was pretty, devastated, just by seeing his workload, but also just figure out ways to help. So unfortunately, it's taken me 8 years to, I think it's not fully, but I've helped him along the way. But, this project, I think, will definitely help a lot with the stuff he's working on. So since 2016, they've actually graduated 30 emergency physicians now. That's when they first started their program. And now they have a total of only 22 emergency medicine trainees. So this compares to probably something that's kind of crazy compared to what the United States is going through. We're pumping out somewhere around 20,000 of these emergency physicians. So just kind of keep that in mind. So I'm sorry, there's 20,000 residents, I would say, that we're pumping out. So just keep that in mind, just a far difference. So Mount Hagen is a city that was developed, was westernized initially, before the independence, and since then it's been run independently. It is an agricultural town. There's definitely a lot of nutritional aspects, a lot of different things. I don't know if you guys have read the book by Jared Diamond, Germs, Guns, and Steel, but there definitely is a lot of mention about Papua New Guinea being one of the arguably one of the centers of civilization, from founding agricultural tools. The first farm tools they found that that man used were actually in Papua New Guinea, which is interesting. And just the soil there is so rich and fertile, which kind of makes their crops, including their coffee, probably some of the best in the world. And not to start an argument with people in Kona, but I would kind of arguably say that it's probably the best coffee I've ever had. Again, just a small hospital setting. I'm still waiting for Junior to jump on the call here. Sorry, but with that said, one guy will see 166 patients a day on average. He's responsible for, which is insane, because our Straub Hospital probably sees about 120 on a high day, by about 120 emergency patients on a daily basis amongst 5 physicians. So the sheer number is just kind of outstanding. And leading cause of death as of late has been HIV, respiratory illnesses, and trauma. Those are kind of the big 3 kind of burdens that he sees. HIV is unfortunately on the rise. One of the few places where it is on the rise. I think the rest of the world seems to be on a decline, but there's some of these old pockets of the developing countries. And then ultimately, I'll kind of skip the flow. I think this is more for the emergency physicians, but I guess we could talk about it. It's very similar to how we kind of run it. Obviously, I think COVID has changed probably his screening methods as much as ours we have done here, but very similar, very modeled after the Australian model as well. And ultimately, these are some highlights of it, of the process. They just really recently did a renovation of it, so definitely the place is definitely run very clean, just like at Straub Hospital, I don't think the housekeepers get enough credit for keeping the place clean. You know, the administrator at the top seems to get the big, you know, kudos, but I think the people at the bottom seem to deserve the most. And that's kind of Junior there in action. Let's see, he just texted me a second. Okay, and let's see here. Yeah, this is his team of registrars and his the trainees and also the health extension officers that he has in his department. Yeah, this is the single piece of ultrasound machine there and the single cardiac monitor and defibrillator system that they have there. And since then, actually, our Rotary Club, through just an international project, through Club Cash, we were able to get them a EKG machine as well as a another set of cardiac monitors, as well as a defibrillator battery for their existing defibrillator. So we've done some work with them in the past. This ultrasound machine is kind of intermittently working. That's the bad thing with this kind of model of ultrasound machines, is that it does require semi-annual, if not just annual, kind of you know, maintenance, and it's just hard to get someone to come up there to get that done. And this machine here on the right you're seeing is probably around, it can range from about $50,000 to $60,000. And sadly, I've noticed that rates double when they go into developing countries. You know, somebody's making a lot of money shipping it out there and assuming supposedly the risk of taking it out there. So I think it could cost about $100,000. So that's just a single machine that works sporadically. Again, his training program, he definitely is a one-man training show too. So he trains all of his registrars and health extension officers kind of individually. There are also nurses there. There's a nursing school there as well that some of our volunteers that we've brought with have helped. And yeah, this is Greg, and I guess you threw that in there. This is myself and Greg Swartz. He's the chief, division chief of emergency medicine at the medical school. He's a good friend of mine, and we went out there. This is from 2018, I believe. And there's some kind of, that's Oliver. He's a German anesthesiologist who's now an expat. He's lived out there for the last like 15 years or so. I think he's been out there for. He started out as a part of a program to for international doctors to go there for a year, and I just said he never came back. He just kind of fell in love with the place. And that's Sam there on the right. He's got the really unique beard. And this is actually a very typical kind of patient that shows up to the emergency department, just comes in as quickly or as simple as they can. And you know, I'll be honest with you guys, you know, I've never seen an arrow wound before. And I don't know if this guy, no, this isn't the guy with the arrow wound, but definitely I've seen guys come in with arrow wounds. I've seen, you know, what was it on my last day, I think in 2013, there was a jail outbreak supposedly, and instead of the guards trying to corral the guys, they decided to shoot all these guys up. So it's like this most, I don't know, it's definitely the wild west out there. And it's just such an impressive set of you know, like, and it's just like the quote said, you know, when you can run, you run. If you can walk, you walk. If you can crawl, you crawl. Just keep moving forward, right? And I think that's the idea of progression with this. And you know, whatever level we can help them at, I think is the key. And you know, we've set up stuff like online, trying to set up some stuff like online CME stuff. But I think ultimately the best thing is not necessarily the training as much. It seems like these guys are so well trained. It's just the tools that they don't have access to. And you know, unfortunately, the government with COVID recently, a lot of the money that was diverted, that was supposed to be sent for regular stuff like medications and basic supplies that they normally get every year, that stuff was taken away and used for the COVID disaster plans. And so unfortunately, these rural areas didn't get that funding that they needed. So they're really dying to the point where this hospital was running at 20% capacity. So they had to shut down 80% of their hospital just to, because they didn't have enough supplies to operate. So so and with all this stuff going on, there are some triumphs. This is the Papua New Guinea Society of Emergency Medicine. If you can see that crazy guy in the top right there, that's me. They were supposed to take a funny picture. And so I'm actually technically a member of this Papua New Guinea Society of Emergency Medicine, which is just there to kind of unify the 26 emergency physicians that are in the nation, and kind of, you know, do what we can to get them the stuff they need. And we're hoping that this ultrasound project will be able to help as well. And, we've also brought other things like different types of training. There's, different international types of training, like advanced cardiac life support course, which we brought back in 2016, I believe, with Sarah, who's on the call here with us. I believe this is the one of the ceremonies for the opening of the new hospital, which is the same time that Greg and I were there to help with this primary trauma care course, which is a World Health Organization initiative to bring training. And
James?
yes.
Sorry. Junior just joined us.
Oh, Junior. Let me get out of this. Let me stop mumbling and introduce our guy here. John. Hey, Junior. Can you hear us? Hey, Junior. Let me just text him to see if he can. All right. Hey, Junior, can you hear us? Oh boy. I was connecting. Oh no, he might be having connection issues. Well, there he is. There he is. Let me spotlight you. How do I spotlight? Hey, can you unmute? Oh no. Shucks. Let's see, just I see. He says he could hear us, but he can't for some reason having connection issues with the muting. Maybe he's having a hard time connecting to audio. Shucks. Well, let me change the view up. Hey, Junior, do you want to try to disconnect and reconnect maybe? All right. Let's see, he says yes. Okay. But I'm sure he would have done a much better job at presenting this than I. But I think there he is again. All right, fingers crossed. All right, there he is again. All right. Still can't hear you, buddy. It's not working, huh? All right, I think we'll have to. Well, maybe we could bring in on another time when maybe you're not on the road. I appreciate the valiant effort. Obviously this was definitely last minute. 2 days notice to jump on a call, but I definitely appreciate you. It's always a pleasure seeing you. It's always good to see you. But yeah, I think trying to think of anything else. Any questions on your end? I guess we could actually, Junior, are you able to look at the chat window by chance? Let me see. Maybe we could do a Q&A with the chat. And feel free to ask questions verbally, and I'll try to do my make my keyboard teacher in high school proud and try to type those in for you. or or worst case, he could even just type them into this chat. There he is. What stage is the grant? Okay, so John asks. Okay, so right now, you know what? I could. Right now, the grant is actually the grant we have. We're averaging. It's about at 30 to 35 grand right now. It's going to be 10 ultrasound devices. Each one costs roughly around $2,600. We add on another $800 for like an iPad to hook up with it, actually more like $600 plus cases and cords and accessories and everything like that. And so each unit runs about $3,000, $3,200. So we're hoping to get 10 of those units sent out. We have 4 hospitals in mind. One is Port Moresby General, which is like the major receiving hospital for the country. And then we have Garahu Hospital, which is nearby Port Moresby. It's another major hospital. Mount Hagen Hospital, which is the major hospital in the Highlands, and then Kundiawa Hospital, which is in another area in the Highlands too, which is. So the stage right now we're at is we have a club there already. We've established committees on both ends. We actually have funding committed on our end and that club's end. We also have some funding committed from the Rotary Club of Centralia, Washington, and also pending club funding from the Rotary Club of San Antonio, Texas. So between and the reason why is that those two are the clubs that I've had connections with in the past, and that was the Rotary Club of Centralia was the initial author of the global grant that kind of brought me to Papua New Guinea and ultimately brought me to Rotary. So I still have that connection established, and then since then, a family has moved to San Antonio. So that's how and that club is pretty large and robust as well.
So is it fully funded?
No, it's not. That's the problem. It's drafted. It's actually at the point where it's ready to submit. We just need to fill in the funding portion of it. So that's the part we're waiting for. So
How much are you short?
We're short. I think right now I've guesstimated around 12K. So we're short about 18K right now. But I haven't been on the road yet. Literally just the grant just got drafted this past few weeks. So yeah, we're in the process of working on it. Oh, great question, Sarah. Sarah asks, how is ultrasound helping Junior? What kind of things does he use for it? How is this helping the people of Papua New Guinea? Great questions, Sarah. Junior, do you want to respond to that, Junior? Since I think that question is directed towards you. Let's see if he's able to. Maybe you could either respond in the chat window in the Zoom app, or maybe you could respond in the WhatsApp too, Junior, if you could see it. Let me see if he can respond. Oh, perfect. There it is. He says, thank you for your great question. Ultrasound has been a game changer for my emergency care in my ED. Hey, Junior, on average, like what are some basic kind of things that you would use it for? Like, what are some life-saving things, and what's a kind of a recent thing you use the ultrasound for in your hospital setting? And we're talking in a place where okay, it says he's been able to use it for trauma POCUS, which is point of care ultrasound, and EFAST, which is extended focus assessment for sonographic for trauma. So it's a trauma exam, and you look for internal hemorrhaging in the abdomen, the heart, and also in the lungs as well. No worries, Junior. I see you. Apologize for typing on the phone. It's okay. So where this device is a big game changer in terms of emergency care in the field, and also in this rural or in an austere setting or in a resource limited setting. Things like X-ray. I remember I was in Papua New Guinea and they actually ran out of water. There's a drought, so they didn't have water. So not only can people not drink and wash hands, you can't develop X-rays. because you need water to develop x-rays, right? We're talking like old school x-rays, right? So just in an event like that, electricity goes out. Yeah, you can charge your phones and this ultrasound device, through a car battery, but you can't really use CT scanners or MRIs or things like that either. And there's only one MRI machine in the entire nation. I think they're in the process of getting another one, another hospital, but as of right now, there's just one at the main center, and that's kind of hit or miss to use too. And CT scans are very rare to find too. So in that sense, like being able to see this real time, yeah, because imaging is not always easy, such as x-rays, which is, exactly. And in addition to that, the OBGYN care, there's a whole nother window that we can see here. People don't have to guess. We could get ultrasounds done, and this is a device that gives no radiation. There's no side effects from this imaging modality, and it's instantaneous. And you can see things in real form. So just recently, we had, difficult access, trying to get an IV placed in somebody. Even you could actually use the ultrasound device and see the vein versus the big throbbing artery. And so you avoid the artery and you're able to access the vein and not have a big mess when you're trying to put an IV in. Or, God forbid, something like, a hemorrhage of some kind, or, see how someone's breathing. Yeah, he says, we use ultrasound for pretty much everything from obstetrics and gynecology to fractures. So, yeah. Yeah. I remember I had a device back in 2014, and it was actually a prototype. It was a Toshiba model, and it was a Microsoft Palm Pilot type setup. And we actually used it for fractures in a kid who was actually trying to go get oranges for us in a tree and fell down. I felt so bad because we kind of caused this fracture, I felt like. But fractures is something that we take for granted with ultrasound in the States because we have x-rays, right? And so it just makes sense. And in this case, you just kind of ultrasound over the bone, and if you see a change in the line, that pretty much diagnoses it. So it's a pretty relatively easy tool, and it's definitely something that's, in my opinion, it's right now there's medical schools now there that are giving this ultrasound device to first-year medical students to get them to learn, practice on your cat, practice on yourselves. To the point where they're saying that the stethoscope is now becoming obsolete, because why should I listen to something? I could listen to it and see it in real time with an ultrasound device. And also in the day and age of COVID, we're able to, instead of exposing the x-ray tech and a bunch of people to get an x-ray done, the doctor goes in there once with a physical exam with the ultrasound probe, and they can do the entire exam and get all the chest, look at the chest, see if there's fluid in there, look at the expansion of the chest wall, get all these measurements done, look at how the heart is expanding and collapsing. And these are all things that physicians can do really well. And this is all stuff that, they know how to do, that they've learned, and this is stuff that is there. It's just the modality isn't available. So I really think that this is, again, I'm sorry for being so biased, not only professionally, but also since this is my project too, but I'm just so sold on this. And I'm finally glad after, how many years in Rotary I've been in, I am actually able to get something going to help Papua New Guinea in terms of a global grant. And we've done small things in the past, but I think this is something that we could hopefully expand upon, and maybe even expand similar to the super project, maybe expand this to other countries and other places. And, maybe even bring some to Nepal with us or to Fiji with us when we go to Fiji next, too. I think something that's reasonable. And $2,500, $2,600 for the device, and other, and you don't necessarily have to have the iPads. You could, we could have people donate, an old iPhone, or donate an old, iPad, and it's just as good. So, I really think that there's definitely a lot of expansion for this. I'm hoping that more Rotary clubs will kind of jump on this type of project, because I think the impact is really high. Because I remember when I was traveling on the highlands, when I was in a town called Goroka, which is another famous area in the highlands of Papua New Guinea. There was a Rotary Club of Santa Barbara. There's two Rotarians that were there that were delivering a $60,000 ultrasound machine to that hospital. Just one device, 60 grand, and right. And that's how much they cost. That's how much those big machines cost. And, the question is how much is it going to cost for a tech to come out there every year to, to update the thing, et cetera. Right. So who knows if that thing's even operational anymore. Right. So, this is a device where, Junior just last week was like, hey, how can I, there's an issue with this tech support, everything's online, it's fixed. Worst case scenario, we ship the device back and they send a new one out, right? So it's definitely a very simple, easy tool that we could fix. And there's definitely travelers that could bring this back and forth. I don't have to carry a giant, 100-pound ultrasound machine with me. in a backpack. I could just put it in my pocket and go. So, any other questions for Junior? Sorry, I'm just rambling along. Hey, Junior, anything else you want to say as well to the crowd? Sarah, anything you want to add? Oh, Junior types in, thank you all for taking time to chat today and for trying to help us in PNG. Much appreciated. Thank you for doing what you do, Junior. And we definitely hope to get you to come travel here with us, just visit us here again soon too. I'm sure we'd definitely love to, you know, do what we can to help support you. All right. Well, we're approaching 5:30. You know, I definitely feel bad for the connectivity issues, but I hope this was a worthwhile meeting for everybody here, and you know, we'll hopefully get this grant you know, up and running. And again, you know, like I said, if you know, I'm not I know it's COVID times. I know clubs are kind of hurting on cash and things like that. So again, it's up there. You know, if we have to wait a year to get it done, you know, just like I'm not sure if Junior heard, but hey, Junior, I used the Martin Luther King quote that Sam uses a lot about running, walking, and crawling to move forward. And I think you know, whatever it takes, you know, it's not, you know, if it, you know, it'll happen eventually. We'll make it happen. So just keep that in mind. And you know, we're definitely getting I'm definitely getting my old band back together, I guess you want to call it that. Get some residency friends, some other emergency physicians. I think COVID has definitely got a lot of physicians wanting to go travel and do stuff. And I think hopefully in the next couple of years, we'll be able to get a big team going. And we're talking about creating workshops on how to do ultrasound and all that too. So I know Murray and I had talked about when the international convention is in Melbourne in 2023, that will maybe make a trip up there from Australia up to Papua New Guinea to do a visit too. So if you guys are interested, maybe in 2023, we could do a little trip too. But yeah, anyway, pleasure, everybody. Oh my goodness, he just says we currently have a third wave underway, unfortunately, of COVID. Hats off to you, Junior. Hope all's well. Let us know how we could help. Hopefully we get some of these ultrasound machines up to you too. But yeah, let us know how else we could help.
I'm ready for PNG, James.
So am I, Murray. So am I. So okay, all right, everybody. Well, hey, it's 5:30. We'll close the chat up, and thanks again, everybody. And looking forward to working with Steve and Randy on Fiji, and we're definitely looking forward to talking more. Best wishes, everybody.
James, do you know
Thanks.
what
Thanks,
day is the
everybody.
next meeting? Because
Oh yeah, thanks for that was the problem with last meeting, right? I think I didn't actually set an official time up. Let's shoot for how about October 14th? Does that sound okay, or what do you guys think?
Fine with me.
Thursday, October 14th? Okay. So okay, that gives me plenty of time to set up and get it going. All right, everybody. Well, thanks again. Take care.
Thank you.
Okay, have a great day.